Let's talk about joint range of motion. Should we avoid extreme joint angles at all costs, or is it more of a matter of use it or lose it? We live in an interesting time where somebody like Joel Seedman, aka Dr. Joel the Troll, can vehemently argue day in and day out that the best way to be able to achieve the task of range of motion is to avoid it at all costs. And he only gets laughed out of the room about half the time. I'll be the first to say it would be nice if life worked this way. It would be nice if avoiding lifting heavy weights made you stronger. It would be nice if avoiding absorbing knowledge made you smarter. And it would be nice if somehow never entering a particular joint angle magically granted you the capacity to own that joint angle. Unfortunately, however, that just doesn't seem to be the way that life works. When we want to gain or master a particular skill, it's typically considered customary to practice that particular skill. And for good reason. Skill acquisition is a function of skill practice. Physical qualities are obtained when they're practiced and trained in a progressive fashion, and things like flexibility and joint mobility are no different. As with most other physical capacities, one's working or usable range of motion can be progressively trained over time, starting with smaller amounts and building your way gradually into larger and larger amounts until you eventually achieve what would effectively be the maximal range of motion that you can move that particular joint through. In fact, I find that blending mobility training into resistance training is a more reliable way of increasing mobility than mobility training itself. This is because the nervous system is more likely to open up greater degrees of joint freedom if it is confident that you are able to stabilize the joints in those progressively deeper and deeper joint angles. And that cannot happen unless you are strong enough to do so. Therefore, building strength as you build length is a very reliable way to improve mobility. And you can do this by utilizing a form of progressive range of motion training under the barbell. Start with an easy load, comfortable but challenging, and slowly move your way towards a comfortable but challenging end range of motion on whatever exercise you're working on. And then over time, as your body becomes more comfortable in deeper joint angles, as the nervous system eases off the brakes, you coax your way into deeper and deeper ranges of motion bit by bit. First, you achieve the range of motion, then you focus on achieving greater and greater amounts of weight on the bar. And obviously, an individual's training goals are always going to play a role in how much range of motion they require in any particular motor pattern or through any particular joint or joints. But in a general sense, I find that possessing what would be considered above average mobility, but not quite god-like mobility, along with a commensurate amount of strength at those deep end ranges, makes you stronger overall, makes you more supple overall, reduces those sensations of stiffness that many of us have to deal with, and it just makes you feel better in general and more often. And the way to achieve all of these benefits is not to avoid these deeper or more extreme joint angles and ranges of motion, but rather it is to build your way into them gradually, just like with every other weight room skill.
That's double body weight. 340 at 170. Deepest Anderson front squat you've ever seen in your life.